Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Penny Bloom Podcast. We are discussing the Mandalorian Season 3 finale, and what a finale it was, one way or the other. Many a feeling flying about. I am Colton Robertson. I am joined today by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And what is up, KBZ, Kyler Barnett?
Is straight to it.
Straight to it. So let's jump right in. Mandalorian Season 3 finale titled The Return. Dope-ass title. The Return of Mandalore. The Return of Bo-Katan onto the throne and everything. It's works on a few levels there. How we feeling? How we feeling overall? I'm curious because I've now watched it 3 times. First time I watched it, I was like, that was fun. Could have been executed better. Second time I watched it, I was like, okay, I'm liking it. It's solid. It's solid. And the third time I watched it, I fucking loved it. I don't know, like it just kept getting better and better for me the more that I watched it. So I'm curious to hear how you guys feel about it. Let's start with Joe here.
And I guess I don't want to, first watch, the main feeling that I think I had coming off of it was disappointment, but not necessarily for what happened, just for what I expected to happen. I was disappointed in my expectations and what I expected from the episode. There are some gripes I do have with maybe not the episode itself, with more of like the direction they decided to take the season. But you're right, on rewatch, like, and there were a few moments where I'm smiling ear to ear on first watch, and I'm like, oh my god, like, thankfully we're getting this moment in Star Wars. It's either so cute or like it's just a moment that we wanted, and it like was very enjoyable. And I don't want to make it seem that I'm sitting and watching this episode like, oh wow, they went there and this happened, and I'm just mad from scene to scene. But that's the thing, is that I'm genuinely happy from scene to scene, and then whenever one thing happens that I'm like, oh, I didn't really think it'd go there. I'm like, okay. And then it just makes me think about it. So even when it is bad or I'm having a critique with it, I don't even really think it's.
And I felt the desire to tweet last night about the difference between a critique and a complaint and how to go about critiquing things and everything. Because I saw a whole lot of people who were very, very positive about the finale immediately, really, really positive about the season, who were like, I don't know, like it felt a little like they were coming at folks who didn't appreciate it quite as much. And same thing goes for the people who didn't appreciate it, who were like, the fuck were y'all liking? That's kind of crazy. That's give critiques, give reasons. Don't just be like, why do you like this? Or like, how could you like this? Like, no, explain why it's not working for you. Explain why it is working for you. All you can do is try to refine your own perspective. You shouldn't try to change anyone else's, and you should just enjoy the thing you enjoy or not enjoy the thing you enjoy and let others do the same. That's the bottom line here. So overall, we're going to keep it positive. We're not going to tell anyone they're dumb for enjoying it. We're not going to tell anyone they're dumb for not enjoying it. Everyone has their right to their opinion. Kyler, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm going to have to leave if that's what we're doing, because I thought I was going to get to slander Joe the whole time.
No, we'll absolutely get to slander Joe the whole time.
No, I was just kidding. No.
Talking about you guys slandering R5.
Hey.
Yeah, actual slander. Sorry, I'm not going to slander this.
I resent slander.
With an open mind.
Libel is print. It's something like that. I don't know. No, I really enjoyed the episode. Holy shit, that's intense. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, something just fell off my desk. No, that fucked me up for a minute there. I had a train of thought and then just derailed.
No, you're all good. You're all good.
I think the ending of this episode and just like the last 15 minutes of it as a whole, I think just if I'm analyzing this and how as I watched it, I kind of thought of it this way as like season 3. I didn't think of it as like how is this shaping up to the season 2 and 1. I think the minute you saw Luke Skywalker come into your screen, you probably knew that was the apex moment of this series.
Right.
Like one of the apex moments of the series. Where like that's a hard bar to beat. Like I can be okay with that. I'd rather have that moment than not have it and just keep trying to one up shit, because that's when you come dangerously close to the whole, like, are we doing these things and making these decisions for the right reasons, or are we doing them just to feel like we're making the big splashy play? And I love that this ending and the last like 15 minutes of this episode, to me, it felt like the end of this season. It felt like it wrapped up what this season felt like to me. And I thought it hit all those notes very well. I thought, Colton, we talked about this through message a little bit, and I just thought that this ending, like, there are very few moments in Star Wars, few endings of movies in Star Wars where I just feel this, like, insane amount of joy and, like, just, like happiness, and not even just necessarily happiness about, like, what has happened, but happiness, like, for the characters it's portraying. Like, they got what they deserve. They got what they need. Like, the things that they had been working towards or hoping for, or whatever, it came to that point, and it wasn't just like rushed there. Like it was earned. And I felt like that's where we got with just about most of the characters we saw in this episode or in the season. And that just did it for me. I mean, it felt like, I told you, this felt like to me like the end of Return of the Jedi, where like there's no, like, it's like, man, like this is just a perfect like wrap up. It feels so final. It feels like this is where this was building towards, and it makes like total, like, I don't have any questions about why this is what happened, And
I think that's perfect. Like, it's just like Return of the Jedi. It's the end. It's the war is over. The Emperor is dead. It's like, let's finally celebrate. Like, holy shit, we've been in war for so long. Now we're finally able to relax, and we're living together. And I think that's where season 4 is going for man. It's either that next season it's going to be them laying a little dormant and allowing the Empire and these Imperials to build up and fight against them, or it's the active, like, us seeing the opposite of that, seeing the group not fall into the traps that like the New Republic's falling into and being lazy. It's them being like, oh no, the Empire is definitely a threat. We have to, stay on this and be careful. We can't allow, for these things to happen, sort of thing. So I think a lot of the storylines that I was wanting them to go into this season, I think are just, they're happening next season or not at all. And it just didn't happen this season. So I'm going to have to be okay with that. But I think that's really the biggest thing, is that it seems that this wasn't the idea for season 3 of Mando at the very beginning. If Rangers wasn't written, if they didn't have scale, like all these other, I don't know. It just doesn't feel that this was the vision for season 3. It feels that they kind of had to work with what they had, and work around certain things. And I kind of want to get like the big gripes out of the way, so that then I can just be positive from then on out. The only 2 gripes that I can actually see and have reasons behind is the fact that we didn't see Pedro Pascal's face. I think that that's a writing decision, and probably I don't know what's going on there, if that was just writing or what, but I don't think that was a good decision at all. And then I just don't think they handled Gideon really well at all. The twists and his death and all that stuff. It's like just Gideon and then not seeing Din's face. And then I sat back and thought about that. I'm like, man, I'm a lot more upset than what I should be when these are like my 2 complaints that I have.
No, I think there's fair reason here. I think that we don't even have to see Pedro Pascal's face necessarily. You know, I think there's a moment in this finale where we could have done the thing. Like my favorite shot of this episode is the very last one, the little iris, iris transition there. Iris wipe, I believe is what it's called, and it just zooms in on them, little Looney Tunes-ass effect. I think it would have been impactful if we did something kind of similar to what we did in season 1, episode 4, where you see Din sit down and you just watch him when he's about to eat, take his helmet off and set it next to him. You know, like, but he's not sitting down to a meal. He's sitting down to be with his family. Like, I think that could have been compelling. But the choice not to do that, I think it kind of just anchors home that he's not at all doing what we thought he might be doing as far as questioning his beliefs is concerned. It's the furthest thing from his mind. You know, the whole I remember in the first episode, there was this line that he said about IG-11 where he's like, he must have defaulted to his old programming. And that's kind of how we felt about Din coming into season 3. Like, oh, well, he completed this mission and now he's like, well, I have to be redeemed. Like, that's all that's on my mind. And that was all that was on his mind. Once that was done, his entire story was to serve Bo-Katan. And I'm perfectly okay with that. You know, I think I've tweeted this and I've been thinking about it a lot. I think Bo-Katan's arc in this season is the best arc that we've seen in The Mandalorian so far, of any character. The starting in a place where when Din comes and greets her, or Jaren rather, apparently, comes and greets her on her throne at the beginning of the season, and is like, "Hey, what happened? You gonna retake Mandalore? What happened to your fleet? What happened to everything?" And she's like, "Nah, that all just kind of went away from me. You know, and it's because of you, it's because of your damn cult, it's because of all of this, and I can't fucking stand it." And then over the course of the series, kind of redefining her faith in herself and in Mandalorian culture through Din and through the Armorer and through the Children of the Watch, without giving fully into that lifestyle, just kind of reminding herself of what was important to her when she was younger, what made this culture special, like, and then to rise above all of that and become the ruler once again. Like, I'm gonna tell you, that's a damn compelling arc compared to protect baby, love baby, be sad when baby goes away. And that's a great arc. I fell for it, you know, like, I not fell for it. It was fucking good. It made me cry and everything, you know, like, I loved it. But it's a much more complicated and intricate arc than anything Din's gone through.
A lot
in this
easier
show
to write seasons 1 and 2.
Yes.
It's just cute little adventures with a frog lady and Grogu eats a couple of them. And no, you can't eat. It's like that. It's a lot easier to write that. And right now they're trying to write a very, not just character piece. It's like, this is like a political, massive army, you know, like this is a republic, like a new republic and rise of the First Order story.
A galaxy implicating story that they've written.
And I agree with you. I think the way they handled Bo is done very well. Like, definitely very well, and is the best part of the season. And she is the main character now, and that's without a doubt. You know, like, now it's very...
At least of the season, yeah.
Yeah, this season for sure. And I do think her arc was amazing. It's just that I wanted more of those moments, like episode 7 or last episode, when they sat down at the table and all talked with each other. And Bo, I wanted to get in the minds of every faction more and see what they're thinking, instead of it just be a chess match between Paz and Axe, and then they fight, and then Grogu separates them and says, no, no, no. Like, I like that, but I think it's a lot better if that fight breaks out, and more just time spent on the real moments between the people, instead of it, you know, just being for the flashy moments that we got.
I see you. Yeah, no, and I think that one of the gripes that I've understood about this finale specifically is kind of a gripe that's been had with the season at large, in that it is foot on the gas. This happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. Event after event after event after event. And I can get that. You know, to be sure. Coming off of episode 7, the stakes were as high in this show as they have ever been. You know, like I do think there's an automatic lessening of tension when Din isn't immediately killed there. It's kind of like, well, if he's not immediately at least attempted to be killed, this guy's not fucking dying in the finale. You know, he had him right where he wanted him. If he wanted to kill him, he would have killed him right there.
Yeah, that was a little...
Yeah, well, it was an interesting way to set the tone for the episode and kind of go, oh, maybe all the stakes are just kind of, they've been evaporated by kicking off the episode with Din escaping that capture. And it's like,
that was probably one of the only moments that I kind of like had a little head scratch at. I was like, is this really how he escapes? Like, we've devised all these schemes where like, oh, it's Boba Fett coming to help save the day. And it's really just as simple as like Din Djarin fighting his way off, basically seeing Grogu and being like, oh, I gotta fight the fuck out of these dudes. Better get the fuck out of here. And it's like, really? Really?
No, yeah. I had a similar thought. You know, I was like, oh shit, okay, that's fucking easy. And that's just not a good way to start something after the stakes were so fucking high. To follow something where the stakes felt immovable. It was like, oh man, shit's dark, things are gonna get bad. To start the episode with something immediately being undone kind of lessens the tension for the entirety of the episode. And that's not like, it didn't lessen my enjoyment of it necessarily. I do think but that's the thing. They had an idea for what they wanted to do with the rest of the episode. They wanted Din to be available to fight with Grogu and fight with Bo, and the way they built tension towards the end of the season was having him captured. Like, that's just the way things went, you know. And I think it's a little bit of a writing problem there. But
I guess it could be, or like if Gideon comes back, all of these things will come back as to be like reveals, and like he let this happen. He let them think that he destroyed all of their research so that he could even go, you know, like. I like to think of Gideon as like he absorbs everything he sees and he improves off of it. Just kind of like Iron Man. He's crazy. He's like, anytime he sees an improvement that he can make, he makes it. And I think maybe the improvement that he saw out of that Shadow Council meeting, he's like, his success heralds on the secrecy of his return. You know, so like Gideon now fakes his death in a way, you know, on purpose here, and just uses a clone. It's like that's I'm trying to save Gideon's story, and like that he comes back and all of this is planned and stuff, but like I would really hate for me to really like get in this mindset of like, oh, he's coming back and all this was planned and it was so maniacal and like beautiful, if it's actually that he's gone and his clones are all gone and it is truly that he's gone.
Well, I mean, if it was gonna be a clone that died, that should have been revealed this episode.
Yeah, it should not wait till next
because
season.
what they just adore doing with Giancarlo Esposito, a fantastic actor, someone who is so menacing and so threatening, is for some reason giving him about anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes of screen time in a season. I don't get that. I think it's it builds the like kind of late in the game, oh no, now we're elevating, now we are escalating. But part of the reason that a lot of this season missed so far was the lack of stakes. Imagine if we kick off this season with Gideon's escape. What if that is the first scene of this season? And all of a sudden, the entire season is recontextualized as, oh man, Gideon's out.
Yeah, it would.
That whenever we see all the Imperial fighter, like, because the Imperial interceptors and TIE fighters that come and attack them in episode 3 at the beginning and blow up Bo-Katan's home at the end, those came from Mandalore. They were right there. They didn't have to leave. They didn't have to go very far. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my god, I didn't realize that until now.
Yeah. They were already in the system. That's why they got there so fast. That's why they could do all that.
And you're so right. Like, they could have... Gideon is somewhere, but saved by Beskar. You know, there's a fragment of Beskar, and you can have like a little conflict in between the group, and they're like, "Oh no, you did, you must have done it. You must have done it." Like everyone freaking out on each other, and then it comes out.
And I even have this like image in my head of like the opening Star Wars like credits thing, where like, or not credits, like the title sequence where it's like flashing through all the helmets, where it's like a New Republic prison. This is New Republic prison transport. We are under attack. We are under attack. There's like something like that, and it's like the line goes dead. Gideon's out. We don't know where, but Gideon's out. Like all of a sudden, the entire tension for the entire season is improved, and like that's I think they banked too much on the late in the game twist, because even that you could still you could keep the season exactly as it is after that, and it feels different, for me anyway.
Keep the season the same after the reveal.
Like if that's the first thing they do in the season, you could keep everything else the exact same, and the tension is automatically higher.
Yeah, I mean that's, and I think without a doubt, like episode 7. I mean, I love the finale, but episode 7 was just a better overall episode.
Oh yeah,
like it was like
it was a better, it was a more well done episode.
It was like, oh my god, it got us to, we were theorizing every day. Every day there was something that we were like, oh, we didn't think about this. Like, oh my god, we didn't think about this. I was like, the armorer is Maul's daughter. Gideon was Din's dad at one point. And then we're like, no, probably more of an uncle. And then, and then we're like, oh yeah, well, maybe Thrawn's going to come back and absolutely wipe out Gideon. So like we were having fun. Like we had so much fun with, that episode. And that's what the second to last episode of a season's supposed to do. It's supposed to get you to spin and not know where you're going to go, and then whenever it happens in front of you, you don't want it to be exactly what you expected, or else it's just kind of too obvious.
Yeah, but I just can't believe, I'm kind of going off on that, I can't believe that we talked about all these people, all these different people, all these different theories about who the fucking traitor is, like who's the one spitting the shit to Gideon. Literally just nobody.
And is that a community problem, or is that the show's problem leading us into that way?
What does the community have to do with this, Joe? This is Star Wars.
No, I mean, because that's all we were focused on is like,
what does Joel McHale have anything to do with us?
I mean,
where does no
matter
what's
where
Chevy Chase doing here?
No matter if you're on YouTube, on Twitter, if you're anywhere, it was who's the spy? Oh, here's my armorer theory. Here's my.
I think I completely understand why the Star Wars fan went wild with that, because they were faux pas-ing us. They were leading us down a road. They were pulling a red herring big time. They titled the episode "The Spies." There's only one evident spy in the episode. Like they knew what they were doing. They were
honeydicking us.
They were honeydicking us. They knew what they were doing. But also, when you look at the episode, there's nothing that Gideon knows that anyone would have told him. Mm-mm. There's he learns from Elia Kane that the two Mandalorian factions have come together. If it was the armorer, why wouldn't she have already told him that? You know what I'm saying? Like shit like that. That's the sort of stuff where it's like, and then everyone was like, oh, they got led into a trap. It was just really well planned on the Imperials' part, like ambushing them in that spot, retreating, quote unquote, into that room, trapping them in between a couple doors, and that's that. Like it was super, like, I think a lot of people are, and I completely understand because I was right there with them. Like, I was like, there has to be another spy. But in retrospect, like, there's enough there to be like, oh, I don't think anybody is, like we were going with the armorer really strong because there's this predisposition to distrust her. We have this idea in our head that she is a cult leader because Bo-Katan, someone who we trust, generally regards her as such. But throughout the season, what Bo-Katan comes to realize mostly is that she kind of fucks with the armorer. Like she's kind of down with what they've got going on. She might not be all in on it. She doesn't want to take this path. She doesn't want to walk this way, but she's also not like, they've accepted her and everything. She's like, well, these people are pretty fucking cool. Like it's not like it's Paz Vizsla risks his life for her, for them.
I still feel like there might be something going on. with the armor. Like maybe, and that's why I'm still holding on a little bit. Like we still didn't see the people she delivered, all the injured people that she delivered. We didn't like. It makes sense if she just went to the ship and dropped them off, but like, was she dropping them off in the big cruiser that was then just
went down?
fast?
That
So,
was
like,
the plan.
So she went there, dropped off some unhealthy people. I guess I don't know what happened to them, but then she's on one of the drop ships ready to go, sort of thing. So like there are still some gaps, and there are like we were suspicious of her for some, the horns on her helmet. I think we still don't know exactly what, like she says Death Watch is gone and that it's, reduced to nothing, and like there's something still there. Like there's a part to her past. Whether she's a Gideon spy or not, I think that there's something that she's hiding that if everyone else knew, they wouldn't think of her the same.
Mm.
But, it's not really that big of a deal. I don't think it's like maybe on the level that she wants to kill people that take their helmets off and that you have to have Mandalorian blood. Maybe it's not to that degree, but maybe it's just like something that happened in her past. I'm not sure.
No, there's some really great mask acting by Emily Swallow at the end of this episode, and voice acting by Emily Swallow whenever Din's like, I'm gonna adopt him, like this is gonna be my son. Then like that's how we're gonna go about things. When she says this is the way, you can tell she's smiling. That's incredible. To be wearing a helmet and acting that way, like, and I don't mean that to be like, well, then she's automatically immune to being anything bad. No, like, I mean, I just thought that performance was really impactful. I think it clearly means that she is 100% down with people who aren't of Mandalorian blood joining. She's always been open to foundlings. She's always been open to, like, that's like the foundlings are the future. That's been her thing since season 1, episode 1, like, when we met the Armorer, the first shit she talked about was how foundlings are the most important thing in their tribe. When Bo-Katan saves Ragnar, they're like, you saved a foundling.
That's why I'm like, I don't know. If there is some big reveal that they're waiting on, because wouldn't it be really nice to lead us on this spy path? We all think it's the Armorer. We're for sure. Everyone was almost certain that it was the Armorer. And then they're like, nah, let it cool. Let it cool until, mid-season, season 4, and they're like, bam, actually, you guys were right, and and then it does, because that's the thing, if it is true, it reshapes so much, because when she became a spy is very important at that, that, so it's like, but that's the thing, is that we were led that way to believe that there was a spy in their ranks. I don't blame the community fully, like whenever I was saying, like, is it the community's fault, for focusing on it too heavily?
There's a balance, for sure.
But, like, I don't know. I hate that it's almost coming down to a title. Because I feel like if the episode wasn't titled The Spies,
wouldn't have thought a single fucking thing of it.
Yeah, all of this stuff wouldn't have really happened.
No, yeah. They knew exactly what they were doing. Like, they 100% meant to lead us down a path and kind of, they meant to tease us with a red herring there, I think that, and then even the beginning of this episode, we don't see the Armorer until she goes, Lady Kryze, your reinforcements have arrived. Like, that's the first time we see her in the finale. The entire time, like, when I was watching it last night, I was like, where the fuck is the Armorer? I was like, what is she doing? What is she up to? And then she just shows up like that. I'm like, oh, okay, dope. But what that implies is that she made it to the ship. She was there when Axe was like, we gotta fucking go.
Sick
she
ass.
got on the ship.
Like, Axe, as he's flying up, like, he's like, all right, I gotta make this, like, fast. He had to move. So he's, like, telling everybody what to do. And then they don't realize that he's, like, running on the ship as he's, like, telling them, And then he's, like, in the bridge, and he's like, well, what are you guys, like, waiting, like...
Right.
And I think he was even, like, he even said that, like, Bo-Katan needs our help right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, like, yeah, like, I don't know, like, we were suspicious that he was the spy.
That's what we
like,
needed to be like, okay, this guy's fucking cool, you know? Like,
he said, Bo needs our help, and he was the one who piloted that shit to, like, you know, go down with the ship. Like, if he's still a spy, then he is, like, doing the absolute most to stay, like, on his cover. Yeah. I don't know. But, like, yeah, no. Axe, and he's the one at the end, for Mandalore, you know, him screaming it first. Like,
love that. No, that's the shit.
Yeah.
You've been talking about how, off mic, you know, I don't want to, like, snitch on you or nothing, but this off mic, you've been talking about how that moment kind of lacks gravity for you. Like, you felt like there should have been something more there. And I fucking loved it. Like, first watch, that was one of the moments I was like, okay, yeah, that's so fucking dope. And it was because of Axe. Like, Axe anchors that moment with the for Mandalore.
I know, but like I feel like I love that moment, and it's like I don't think there's line. Really any other line. Like, it was sick, and like Axe, he fully came around. You know, he was like, he hated. Do we call him Jaren now? What do we call, you know, like, is it not Den? You know, like, is it weird?
No, I mean, I'm still going to refer to him as Din.
It's like calling Luke Skywalker, though. I guess we have multiple Skywalkers, so it's like that's the hard part there. But if we just say, you know, but now we do have two Dins, but obviously one is just Grogu.
Yeah,
you
one's
know?
Grogu.
Like,
that's the other thing, is that, like, I did love when Grief Karga called him Din Grogu. I was like, that just works. Like, that one kind of gave me chills. Like, and again, this is the second or third watch. Like, the first time I watched, you know, you catch me at about 3 a.m. and I'm probably not in the best mood. So like, that's another factor here. Whenever I stay up to watch something at 2 a.m., my immediate reaction might be negative simply because of I was tired as fuck at 1:30. I really had to power through to get there. But
the Forge scene, though, the part that I wish could have been added is just a speech by Bo-Katan. I really like the moment. It was very powerful. You know, for a fast moment to get the message across, they did well. And that's the thing, is I think that's like the main gripe I have of the season, is that moments that should have had more time and
to breathe,
focus on, just didn't. And very triumphant, very badass. Axe in everyone's screen, and all the clanking, like it was sick. Everyone standing there felt super heartwarming, and it's, you know, it was awesome.
Oh yeah,
but if Bo says,
loved the. No, go ahead.
Like, if Bo is like, the plants are growing again. They thought that they bombed our planet out of existence, but look what we just did. You know, like, I don't know what she has to say. Anything for, like, the future of Mandalore, instead of it just being visual. You know, like, like, the Darksaber's gone. She can't just do that anymore. And the equivalent now was relighting the Forge, and that was, like, the visual thing. But, like, I don't know. I wanted her to just, she's the leader of these people. You know, and they just retook their home planet. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I think Jonathan Larson was spitting, man. Actions speak louder than words. You know,
yes.
the imagery of the armorer handing that, like, because the armorer's whole thing is forging. You know, the idea that she would be willing to hand off leadership. Because half of these people follow the armorer, half of these people follow Bo-Katan. The fact that she's willing to literally pass the torch to Bo-Katan is a sign that this is the person we're all following. I think that, and that's another thing, where the writing of this season is lackluster. The things Rick Famuyiwa can do with visual storytelling is fucking outstanding. Because I got everything I needed to out of that moment because of the actions taken. You know, and the way that another, like we said, Axe Woves is an unsung kind of hero of this episode, kind of an epic character in this episode. But the performance by Simon Cassianides there, in that moment, whenever he yells for Mandalore, like the genuine fucking pride on his face.
It was like, it was awesome. Yeah, no, it felt good.
I loved it.
That line, like, I was trying to think if there was any other like, I don't think there's any other line to go with really there. Like, it was like the delivery of it was good, but even his performance of, like, him jetpacking up, and like literally we were like, how's he gonna get to the fleet? You know, we were like, how's he gonna get there? Like the ship left, he literally just flew through that shit, and I'm like, oh my god, he's doing that right now. He's like, I have to do it, you know,
some G shit.
And whenever he gets up to the bridge and he's like, go, like I don't know, it felt like. I don't know. It felt really good. Like he
felt triumphant.
He did a really good job. But man, all of you hating on R5 and look what he's coming in and doing. Like only came in to help. You know,
R5 you had one of the best scenes in this entire episode.
On the armorer, Casca, Axe, R5, and the Anzellans was like, you know, number 4. I'm like, what are you guys on, R5, dude? He, like, all we know is that he tipped off Carson Teva of where the Mandos were. This is like the only thing he's done, and he's just hanging out with Pelly. I know there is something going on with R5. I think he's just, I don't know, he's kind of like he comes off as nervous, but look at what he can do. You know, he got the job done. He opened those gates. He allowed Din to fucking pop off and have a hallway scene.
That was one of the coolest scenes in the entire episode as well. The visuals when those two were like waiting on the other side whenever he was like the last door and it's like smoking and all you can see are like these flashes and stuff and then he slides on through. That's the shit that makes me go, Rick Famuyiwa is like one of the best action directors in all of Star Wars. Like this shit was fucking gorgeous.
Dude, the fight choreography in this whole episode the entire time. And let's not just dumb it down to just Din Djarin and Bo-Katan fighting Gideon or like Din Djarin fighting the Imperial Commandos or the Praetorian Guards. No, dude, the fight choreography literally that was happening in mid fucking air. It literally happening while people are flying.
There's
was absolutely fire. Fire.
Obviously, of course, that shot where Bo lifts the Darksaber as they're flying alongside the armor.
Yeah, but I think you're about to say something that is already in my head.
Dude, yeah. There's this moment where she slides across a platform, jetpack boosts, fires her guns and her knee blasters.
Yeah.
It's the most fire shit I've ever seen in my life. I was like, that was the coolest piece of action I've ever seen in Star Wars.
And see,
between
at first, I was
the armorer in midair just using the fucking, like, what do you call those? I don't know.
The hammer and sickle, homie.
Yeah, that was wild. The fucking hitting them with the power of communism, my fucking dude. She was just fucking them up.
I think this kind of represents a good way of how I felt about the episode at first and how I feel now. Is at first, this air battle that happened, I texted Colton, I was like, we expected TIE fighters and bombers and all this stuff to happen. You know, a massive space, you know, in orbit fight. I guess not space fight, but, you know, fights in the air with the ships. And we expect, you know, even Thrawn to come in possibly or whatever. And I'm like, man, you know, this air battle didn't happen, and it was like just perfect timing that they got right below the atmosphere, and then the TIE fighters went up and missed them all. But then, now that I look at it, the actual, what we got, that fight, like, what we got because of that is way better. Like, way, way better.
I talked about this, I'm pretty sure it's, like, either episode 1 or the one where... It's either that or the episode where Ragnar gets taken away.
Yeah, episode 4.
Okay. It's one of those two.
Taken from the Shriek Hawk?
Yeah,
Shriek Hawk?
the cock. Yeah, cock. Yep, cock.
Cock.
I talked about it then. I don't know which part it was, but I talked about it then about how the first person shot of like right on the Mandalorian helmet, we got a couple of those in this fight sequence that were absolutely just, that is fucking awesome.
Axe Woves flying up. Fucking beautiful. There was actually one of a TIE fighter where it looked like the camera was like mounted on the TIE fighter's wing and it was looking at the TIE fighters behind it. And it was super fucking cool. They're like, these last couple episodes, Rick Famuyiwa just kind of elevated the style of this season. You know, I think that, we had some really beautiful sequences on like the streets of Plaisir 15. The Mines of Mandalore episode was really, really good looking by, Lee Isaac Chung. And, but beyond that, I don't think that we've had like a Like those were the most gorgeous episodes of this show, of this season. Both the last two directed by Rick Famuyiwa and episode 2, all of which take place on Mandalore, which I think is kind of, important. There's kind of a gravity to the situation whenever it's taking place on Mandalore. There's a beauty to it that they elevate, and I really appreciate that they take the time to do that.
I really think it would, like, I expected it to kind of be like, we wanted Bo versus Gideon, we wanted Din versus Gideon, we wanted all people to have like kind of their individual moments and things to happen, but also like it's just a war to retake Mandalore right now. Like it's crazy, all the chaos that's happening, but they somehow managed to kind of find a way to separate the guards and Grogu at a time, and Din and Gideon, and then Bo sees, Din and Gideon fighting. She's like, "Oh, gotta go." And then finally, it's like Darksaber, Gideon, and Bo versus Gideon, and she's got the saber already lit.
And that's that's the other line that I was tempted to go with because it's a callback. It's just a pull through. Whenever Bo seems to be beat, and Mandalorians are nothing without their trinkets. And she goes, "No, Mandalorians are stronger together." And Din and Grogu come and help to save the day, bro. That shit, that made this episode so fucking good. I think that there's I completely understand gripes about Moff Gideon's demise being a little bit anticlimactic. I can completely understand that, but I think the way that they handle it from the protagonist's perspective is super fucking good. Like every time they start to come at Moff Gideon, the way he shoots back, there's this moment where Grogu copies his dad and like slides on his knees in there and force pushes, which is super fucking cute. And then Din, when Moff Gideon fires back at him, slides in front of him the same way Grogu just did. And then Bo slides in front of Din and blocks with her shield and stuff. And then whenever the fire explodes and engulfs Gideon, both Bo and Din's immediate reaction is they dip their shoulders and protect Grogu, and then Grogu ends up being the one that protects them.
I think they both knew. They thought that they were like, well, this is it. I think like in Din and in Bo's mind, they were like, yeah, we got a cruiser coming down right on top of us. We know we need to get rid of Gideon. We've done what we need to do, and like we're still gonna win, but this is kind of Rogue One style, like. We're here with the kid, but then Grogu does what he does. And
again, a pretty great callback. It's something he did, but it's something he did 2 seasons ago. Like, it's not like that's something he regularly does. That's something that he pulls out whenever it's like, oh shit, this is a big fucking moment. And
you can
the
tell
music's
he's getting a
there.
little stronger. He's not tired as fast.
Not passing out.
He still sat down, but didn't
fall asleep.
Go to sleep. Yeah. So he's getting stronger.
He's doing the hopping, and like that's another thing I appreciated is that they are showing the way that his training with Luke, even if it was seemingly brief, has come into play and been handy on a few occasions. And
I almost went with the Grogu line.
Guards.
Almost, and I the reason I didn't is because for Mandalore, it's just much more of a badass moment, and I don't know what he's saying necessarily, but he said it's at the very end. It's when they go to the bar. Carson, yeah. It starts with a dad for sure.
There's no doubt.
It's dad, and then I think it's like, yeah. It like, is that IG-11 or hey, look who it is, or something along those lines, But it definitely starts with a dad, and I was like, oh my god! I went back to just listen to it a couple times, and I'm like, okay, he's starting to.
He's getting there.
Talk-ish.
And just there's that moment at the beginning whenever Grogu comes and Din's already done a lot of heavy lifting to try and get himself out of capture. And then Grogu shows up, no, and smushes the gun. And Din does that kick-ass roundhouse kick to knock the dude the fuck out. And
the back to spray too. Grogu coming in, just being like,
cute.
he's like, and Din's like, I'm okay, buddy. I'm okay.
And he's like, God damn, man, like that's getting in my face. It's a lot. Absolutely loved that. But then like when he gets up, and I almost went with this line, Din says something along the lines of, I'm going to need you to be brave for me. Okay, buddy, because there's a lot of voice work that I didn't give enough credit on the first watch of this, that Pedro Pascal does a fantastic job in this last episode. And, that's one of those moments whenever there have been a lot of moments where I felt the writing for Din has left me kind of cold in terms of him feeling unfeeling. Like he doesn't seem he seems cold, he seems distant, and I know that's what he's always been. But by now, he shouldn't be so cold and distant. There should be a warmth to him to a degree. You know, like I said with Emily Swallow at the end of this episode when she says, "This is the way." I can hear that she's smiling. There's been this moment throughout the season, like every time he greets Grief Karga, and Karga's like, "Mando," and then he goes, "Hey." I'm like, I don't know, man. It's like I think there's something more that they could have done, and I feel like I got that in this week. You know, I feel like there's something Pedro Pascal does to elevate his performance of Din Djarin in this finale. Like whenever the Praetorian Guards follow Grogu into the other room, and he screams no and tries to follow, and like that's some good stuff, you know. And then at the end, whenever Emily Swallow says the line that I said, I can hear her smile, I can hear Din smile back. You know, like that's. Yeah. And that's something that I really, really need out of these actors, because I feel like the mask acting, Katie Sackhoff is really good at it, and Emily Swallow is really good at it. There are a lot of times where Pedro Pascal doesn't seem to be saying the things his body language is saying, and that's not like the reason. Pedro Pascal is likely not in there, so like it's just there's a disconnect there.
Do you think he was in the suit at all this season?
Yeah, for at least a little bit. There's the interaction on Navarro at the end feels pretty Pedro-y as far as his mannerisms and stuff. And I know that Lateef Crowder and Brendan Wayne, they've done a good job of going full Padme's handmaidens with it and figuring out a way to kind of make it all feel the same. I can't really tell who's who whenever they're acting. I can tell when it's not Pedro if he's speaking though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like there is something to where, and if it is Pedro, you can tell that in the moment he wasn't saying what the voiceover's saying. Like there's and that doesn't happen a ton, but it happens enough to be noticeable. And I feel like this finale did a good job of that not happening.
Yeah, no, I remember I had that gripe a couple times this season, saying that his body language just wasn't quite matching up, and that it's getting a little old. You know, like I was okay with it for a little bit, but then I'm like, I don't know. But this episode, I don't know if it's the action. It's just easier when it's big moments like this, and it's like obvious what the emotion would be, you know, for like sort of thing, and it's like big moment, and the line that's being delivered is also has a lot more emotion behind it, you know, too. But this episode, I didn't have that gripe at all, you know, with Din at all. I thought it was done well this episode. If like I don't know, I think that's the goal is for you to not notice it at all. When it does become noticeable, that's when it is failing. And yeah, I don't know he might. I'm struggling to find who gets the performance for this episode, and I don't know if giving it to Pedro is good enough, but like his voice lines and
he does
everything
a good job in this one, man.
We're nice.
I think there are 3 contenders, and like even 2 more I would hear out. You know, like the 2 I would hear out: Emily Swallow and Simon Cassianides. I think they both did fucking incredible as the Armorer and Axe Wolves. I think like kind of seamless. They're pretty fucking good at what they do. The more obvious 3 are the big 3 in this episode: Din Djarin, Katie Sackhoff, and Giancarlo Esposito. There's a moment with Giancarlo Esposito when he is like, I talked about this last week. If you're going to do exposition, please give it to Giancarlo Esposito. Because that moment when he says like, and you killed them, you smothered them before they took their first. Like, the way he like loses it at the end, like he's like,
those were like his kids. Like that was his
distraught.
He was like, oh my, oh yeah,
he's so angry that his voice like dies out. He's like, you smothered them before they took their first breath. You know, I was like, oh man, that was fucking good. You know, and that whole thing, that whole monologue he gives is really, really blatantly exposition heavy, because like it was not obvious to me that what Din did was killing the clones of.
Yeah, no, I think that was that kind like at first I thought that they were waking up like the Dark Trooper sort of thing, and they were running away because they were like, well, we don't know what's happening, but like, well, that's probably not going to be good. So I'm like, yeah, they're waking up and we're about to see an army of Gideons, you know,
bunch of naked Gideons.
And them fight. Yeah, I was like, how are they what's gonna go on there? But no, they're dead.
They're just dead. They're just dead.
And man, you know, Gideon being who he is, does he hide? That's the thing, is that if he knows how to clone, I feel like he has clones everywhere. These aren't his only batch, you know. Like maybe this is his main base of operations here, but like, does it? I don't know. Do you think he has all of his clones in one spot only?
Well, no, because we did see on Navarro that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
When they destroyed the base in season 2, there was the really fucked up looking clones who I'm assuming were a stepping stone on the way to these perfect looking clones. Which is
no, he probably doesn't have much else actually. His whole fleet is gone, and
I think that's my thing. If Gideon is still alive, he is rebuilding from rock bottom. This man's fucked, you know.
Yeah.
Real Darth Maul situation.
Exactly.
No eye creature follow up either. I was really sad. I was really hoping. I'm like,
I'm not gonna lie to you, Joe. That was just you. Nobody expected any follow up on that.
We still don't know. We
don't. That could come back around. That could.
It could. I'm still holding on, but I don't know. We haven't really talked about the Darksaber being destroyed. Really, it's kind of huge. Is it gone? Are they taking this opportunity to be like, we don't need it anymore? So I think so. Let's actually get rid of it.
Here's what I think. I think that after what happened with Bo-Katan earlier in the season and the thoughts and her like thinking about like her followers abandoned her because she lost the Darksaber, I think that the Darksaber being lost forever will help Mandalore run that much smoothly and also keep any shred of doubt out of Bo-Katan's head. Because to me, it's just like the total and utter confirmation that these people are following her and they are with her and supporting her and the movement of the Mandalorian people strictly because like they feel like she is the most fit leader to do so. And it has nothing to do with some shiny little sword. And that's not to say the Darksaber isn't cool.
No,
but, I just think as far as where her arc went this season, I think losing the Darksaber does more for her arc than her still having it does, 100%. In my opinion.
I'm 100% with you because I think like it's a simple thing. If they feel they want to go ahead and recreate the Darksaber, I have no doubt the armorer is capable of that. I doubt the dark kyber crystal within got destroyed. Seems like it was just the hilt got a little bent.
Also, this
the operating system.
What's the droid's name that's popping up in Ahsoka that knows every saber that's ever been made?
Q Yang or something like that.
Was that saber made with him, or was that like a thing that what is it?
It was the first Mandalorian Jedi who did it. So like, there's a distinct possibility.
Was that his Jedi saber? Or was that like?
Yeah, that was his lightsaber.
And where did that crystal come? Like, what's up with? Do we know anything about the crystal in there?
Not as far as I know. Not canonically.
I guess I have just kind of prediction. I hope it's gone for Bo, and like they don't repair it or whatever. I hope it is gone. But then I hope that like Grogu's like Ilum moment where he needs to go find his crystal, you know, whatever. It's a thing that they take the younglings to go do whenever you're a Jedi, you know, and it's a very like after you've done, you know, some previous tests and stuff, you go find your crystal and then you build your lightsaber and then it's the real start, you know, and I think that Grogu kind of does his on his own, is that he's just on Mandalore, and that I think maybe through, because I'm just trying to think of where the Darksaber, where that crystal is right now, because it was just on the platform, crushed, and then the cruiser came in, blew everything up. It's probably just down in the planet, you know, sort of. It's just lost down there. I don't think they grabbed it and they have like the broken hilt. I don't know.
No, they don't. That's the thing, is that like I don't want it to come back in any capacity.
Yeah.
I think
if it does come back, it's just the crystal that survived down there, and that's the whole, like, maybe the point of the story. Maybe there is infighting at that point with the Mandalorians, and that there are people that are, you know, there is some stuff that's going on. Not with the current Mandalorians that we see. I think there are still some factions that we have not seen yet.
I think that's a distinct
Imperial Remnant, like Mandos. Like, I think the troopers that we saw are kind of like the Imperial Remnant Mandos, but like I feel like there's more of them out there. Like, if these are just the troopers that are working for Gideon, like I don't know. I feel like there's more factions out there that we haven't seen that I think are going to fight each other, and then maybe Grogu's like the true
Mando.
You know, it's Bo and Grogu coming, you know, doing it together to have the bigger unity moment. Like, we have a big triumphant, like, we got Mandalore back, we got the planet now, but all people aren't united yet. You know, like, all Mandalorians must walk the way. Have we seen all Mandalorians, you know? Or now that Mandalore's back, do we see people start to come back to the planet and be like, hey, finally, yes, like, I want, like, let's do this, you know? Like, I hate working for the Empire, or like, I hate being a mercenary, I hate all this stuff.
Yeah, no, my money on the future of, like, I think it would be just thoroughly disappointing if they fall back on an infighting Civil War story. That, like, I think it would kind of be the antithesis of what the entire point of this season was. I think the point of this season was to show that and I get what you're saying about the potentiality of there being other Mandalorian factions, and I completely
original trilogy, Palpatine's dead, they bring him back, and that was the big hate, you know, why bring Palpatine back? It's the whole point of the original trilogy, to kill him, and then it actually, I'm good with it, and I think it actually is a good decision now. So it's like, I feel like it's the same thing. It's like, you don't want the infighting to happen, and you want everything to just remain peaceful, and for all the lessons they learned to stay true, but that's...
My thing is that they just exist at a point in the timeline where there are very obvious outside forces to battle, and it would just be such
and by
a
I guess infighting
themselves.
Maybe I don't necessarily mean like Civil War necessarily, just like unseen factions that we haven't seen. I don't think it's a true like, oh, I hate you and now we must fight each other from the inside. You know, I think it would stem from like a spy coming out and being like, hey, I actually do hate the way that we're doing things, and I don't agree, and I was working with Gideon, and, like, that's a level, like, that's what it would take to cause infighting. But it's probably just the unseen factions that because I don't know, I feel like there probably are more Mandos out there, and now that the planet is open and known, you know, I guess I would assume they're going to spread the word, you know, sort of thing. Like, it's going to be like Andor, like the Eye, you know, that raid that sparked, you know, that was heard all around. It's like, oh, this is the real start of the, you know, it's like, oh, we're doing it. And maybe this is like the Mandalorian version of that.
I can see that. You know, and it feels inevitable that there's got to be more Mandalorians out there. Like, there's a pretty major Mandalorian character that we don't see in this entire season, Sabine Wren. You know, that's
too. Like, I know he's not like Mandalorian, but like I really expect. I don't know. It was kind of nuts that we didn't get. There were like leaks with Boba and stuff like that, which was interesting. That I thought, you know, nothing Ahsoka, nothing Boba.
I am so happy that that's the case.
Yeah, like
the fact that this finale was focused on the story that they told, and frankly, I think it operates as I'm at a place where I'm kind of astonished that they're like, there's going to be a season 4. For me, this was a fucking conclusion. It felt like an ending. Because I don't think an ending requires a character to die or decide that they're done doing things. I think that thematically deciding that Din, like officially making it that Grogu is Din's son, and they go and they live on Navarro and fight Imperial remnants. That's a satisfying ending. Now, I do think there's more to explore with Din as far as the removing the helmet stuff, because, I mean, just that was a weird thing to kind of make the crux of a season. Like the culmination of season 2 was not just that. Like for me, it's not just that Luke Skywalker showed up. It's that Din showed his face to Grogu when he said goodbye. Like that's the emotional crux of that season. And the idea that he would never do that again kind of strikes me as bullshit. I just don't see that being the case. And I'm hoping season 4 doesn't film tangentially or alongside The Last of Us season 2, if possible. That'd be cool.
I guess I'm confused. I'm confused. I want Grogu to be a Mando. No, he's too young. He can't speak. He can't take the creed. I will adopt him as my own son then, and I will give permission so that he becomes a Mandalorian. Is he becoming an official foundling, or is he becoming, is he taking...
He is taking the next step.
But not the creed, not Ragnar.
He can't speak the creed in there, and he can't take the creed, but he is on the same... in title, I think he's on the same level as Ragnar.
So it's just a nice way to get around the helmet. Because why does he not have a helmet now?
Because he's not old enough to speak the creed. Yeah.
Is that it? Are they... No? Because, she would have made him a helmet right then and there, and they would have had, a whole ritual, and they would have been, why didn't they pour, the water over his head? Or why wasn't there, a moment where Din spoke for him? Or, there was no... I feel like that they're maybe not on the same level. That this is a pre-foundling. Or, he's an official...
He's already been a foundling.
No, you're right. He was a foundling.
He's now an apprentice, which is something Din was at some point. If you want me to be honest, I think the reason he doesn't have a helmet is because he's too fucking cute to have a helmet.
Oh no, totally. I'm just and I don't want him to have a helmet right now.
No, yeah, but that's I don't think they have a reason. Story wise,
and that's 39 minutes. The relighting of the forge, Ragnar's ritual, Din coming in, it's all kind of moving so fast.
I mean, it's an epilogue, I think that I do think these. Don't get me wrong. I think I would have loved if these moments got time to breathe.
There was nothing to honor Paz, and it's Ragnar. I thought for sure there were gonna be something, a funeral for Paz and Ragnar's, something. And I'm I don't know. Finally, an emotional moment. And then it's just, I don't know. It's just, nope.
Did you notice who Ragnar is standing next to at the relighting of the forge?
Yeah, Axe.
Axe Woves. Yeah, it'd be pretty cool if Axe Woves adopts him as his kid.
Oh,
that'd be pretty cool.
Oh, wait a minute. So, yeah, it's Din but it would be, so he's Ragnar Vizsla.
I don't think that would change.
It would be just.
He would more be like a mentor. I don't think he would officially adopt him or anything.
Just be sick if it's Ragnar Woes Vizsla.
Right.
Woes Ragnar. I don't know.
Also, I love the fact that I love the fact that the baby's name is Din Grogu now. I think that's outstanding. I've seen a lot of people be like, why is everyone acting so freaking dumbfounded by the fact that Din wasn't his first name. Like half the world operates that way, which is true. Like a lot of the fact of the matter is that Din sounds like more like a first name than Jaren. That's the part that's kind of like, whoa.
And also, every other person in the show, their names function off first last. Like it's Bo-Katan, Axe Woes, Pre Vizsla. Like it's every other person. Like why would I?
I'm assuming.
Like
I'm with you. Like why would you make that leap? No, I think that what this just makes clear is that was the practice on his home planet, wherever he's actually from. That's just what they did.
Which
like
is cool.
His family name was Din. His parents' name was Din something. Like that's cool.
Yeah, Jaren.
Yeah, it's Jaren.
Yeah, it's
quite jarring.
Yeah, but this episode made it clear to me that like he really is on a different level than other. Like he would be like the Jango Fett. Like they would choose Din to be like the DNA. It's either Bo or Din. Like for the DNA specimen of a clone army. Like Din, he's like
that. I know. Like he would have died if Grogu wasn't helping him, but he was giving the Praetorian Guards the work more than
Pre-Vizsla. That's the thing.
Paz Vizsla was.
Paz is badass, and the Praetorian Guards made quick work of him. He held up for a little bit, but like still, quick work. Din was sort of holding it up, like, and him
until Grogu enters the scene. No.
Like I don't know. Din is,
and the little fucking like he like screams and then pushes the no button, which was fucking fantastic. I love that.
And I think some imagery maybe that I picked up on, and I want to get your thought on it. Whenever Grogu separates the guards into the Shadow Council room, and they start slicing the things on top, the little ring, the projector ring, they were like slicing off like the Shadow Council, like separating them, like making them weaker, like I felt. And it was very interesting, the part of the ring that fell on Grogu and that trapped him, it was Thrawn's right-hand man. It's where his projection was, right there. Like that part, it was the very end, and like that's the part that trapped him, is like right there, which was kind of interesting, is that he was kind of running around and laughing, on top of that. He was kind of having fun in that moment.
He was laughing. That was hilarious.
And I think it's kind of like, he's walking on the Shadow Council like they're kind of nothing, but the one that actually kind of got him and that trapped him for a little bit there was Thrawn's right-hand man's, like, but I don't know. It could just be, I don't know. It seemed
interesting. I didn't catch that.
They were they were slicing them off very like it was clear that was like that one person's like spot. I don't know, like the slices they were making and stuff like that. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think it could be pretty cool that like, I'm pretty sure the bar that trapped him is like, that's right where.
That's cool.
Let's start with a P.
Pelion,
yeah. Where he was.
Or Pelion.
But I don't know. I like that separation where Grogu, he's like, no. He separated them, got them to fight, allowed Din to fight Gideon on his own for a little bit.
Din versus Gideon, not just the fight choreography, but the way that the light shines off of their suits while they fight was fucking awesome. Just sort of like, because it's a darker scene, but the reason it's dark is so the reflections of the suit can like really shine, and it really works that way. And I really enjoyed that. But yeah, man, I want to go through favorites just because I feel like I just want to floor it through the favorites. My favorite character was Din Djarin. I felt like we finally got sort of character work with him. Like I said, I think we haven't really been focusing on Din, and that's perfectly okay with me because we've been focusing on Bo since episode 2, when he redeemed himself. And then episode 7 and 8, they really brought that back around. the line he says in episode 7 about how it's not bloodline or a sword or anything that makes him follow Bo. It's her. She's worthy. Ends up being a thesis for why everyone follows Bo, which is really, really cool. His willingness to officially adopt Grogu as his son, which I think is kind of inevitable. I'm glad I don't know. I didn't anticipate that being like a moment. I thought that was just kind of implied.
Yeah, we were already there, and we were
at
already
the end of season 1.
Yeah.
The armorer goes, "You will be as his father."
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to know that it's like this is like at the courthouse, sort of thing. It's just it was
legal adoption.
There was the informal one where it's like, yeah, I'll watch you, but now this was kind of like the signing of the papers. That sweet, you see those videos on Twitter or like a thing where it's like, showing the parent the papers, and it's like a sweet moment. It's kind of I
loved it. I loved
that.
And then his going to Navarro, or not going to Navarro, going to a Delphi squadron and being like, yeah, man, like I'm trying to settle down with my boy here, and I can only take him on some journeys. So if you're trying to,
kind of funny though, because he's like, I'm still gonna need money. Yeah, every night, like, man still needs to eat. And I know I'm kind of about it. And I got Grogu on my side, so obviously, you're going to say yes to this. You want me on your side. He's like, you've already thought about it. Yeah, like, I think...
And him putting IG-11 back together to be the Marshal of Navarro, which I'm fantastic choice there. We were speculating at the beginning of the season, who becomes the Marshal of Navarro? IG-11. They bring him back, and that's who it is. Like,
IG-12.
And it works perfectly. He defended the city originally, and then like everyone knows him. Everyone already kind of regards him as the savior of the city. Now he's coming back as the Marshal. That's fucking cool. So the fact that Din did that without the Anzellans.
IG-12 gone.
Yeah, IG-12 dead.
Do they make something else for him, or
maybe
does he just waddle around?
Because he's like running next to Din, like he's keeping up, which is hilarious. I don't know if you caught that going into like the Adelphi Squadron bar. He's not just like struggling behind. That man's fucking running to keep up with Din.
Really,
his little feet are like moving, and it's funny that his arms never move. I absolutely think that's hilarious too.
Yeah, he just kind of waddles. Yeah,
just kind of waddles. But yeah, he's like sprinting to keep up with Din. I'm imagining that he'll probably return to Navarro. Like, since he's on Navarro, the Anzellans will probably make him a prim. That's my guess.
Okay.
That's just.
Oh my god! Yeah, he is running. Look at those little legs go, dude. He's having to work so hard just to keep up with Din walking. Like, it's so cute.
Yeah, no, like I'm willing to bet the Anzellans make him another prim. Like, that's where my money's at right now. And I'm just glad they have a home. They lived on the Razor Crest. They just kind of cruised by in the N1. Now they have a base of operations. They can return to Navarro. And I like to think that we talked about it a couple episodes ago, like, hopefully they didn't build over Queel's burial. I like to think this is around there. Like, this is about where that happened. And like they go 10 yards one way
in their backyard.
That's in their backyard. Like
the stone. Oh no. Okay. Next season, if they better do something with that's pretty good.
I mean, like, yeah, why not visit Queel's grave? Like, just like you live there where you buried him. Like, this guy's a huge moment.
Yeah, now we got Navarro, we got Mandalore, Plaisir 15, Tatooine a little bit.
It's on its way.
There.
No Boba, which was a little. That's something.
But no,
regardless,
that whole talk was for Din being your character, and I fully agree with you. This episode, I think it's Din. Or Jaren.
Jaren.
It's Jaren this episode. His little conversations with R5. Good job, buddy. You really did good. And R5 being like, he's like
the way he's like, I'm sorry, man. I don't speak binary, but I'm really counting on you. Loved that.
So good. Yeah, it was so good. And I don't know. I think. Yeah, Din, as it's Bo-Katan for the season. That's right. If it's a character of the season, it's Bo-Katan. That's without a doubt. And almost this episode too, like close to it. But I think giving it to Din where we can. Here, I think I will go ahead and do.
I agree completely. Season Bo, episode Din. and then season and episode performance, Katie Sackhoff for me.
Yeah. I think that's it's hard to give it to anyone else for this as a season. But I don't know. Maybe this episode I actually will go. Who played Axe Woes?
Simon Cassianides.
I don't know. I think it is small, but really he actually brought a lot this episode. This episode was, I don't know. I really liked it, and him flying up, every time he was on screen,
Mandalore.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's the hype. He's the hype man. He's the the one that's going to start every chant.
Frankly, I'm over here regretting I didn't have him in our top 100 right now. I'm like, I wish I had Axe Woves at some point because he's not top 50, which sucks.
Yeah.
But hey, next year I've got an easy addition in Axe Woves. But
so yeah, I think I'll give it to him for this
I love
episode.
that. He's he did fantastic, and I'm right there with you. What about you, Kyler? You got a favorite performance and character for this episode?
Performance, I'm going to go with, I know he didn't have as much to do in this whole season, but I am going to go with Giancarlo Esposito because every time he takes the screen and he says, just the line delivery is just like something that sticks with you more than like just about anything else in a season, it feels like. Like I think back to like season 1 and like it'll be just me walking down the living room and yes, exactly that line right there. You have something I want. And I say it all the time and it's just like he captures like it's like you talked about, I wish there was a little more to do with him in some cases because like you just know he would eat that shit up because like if he was actually like vetted and backed like a true villain is in a lot of shows, boy, could he really do some numbers with it. But
like a lot of the other shows that he's in, I'm watching Better Call Saul right now. Season 6 just came out. He's already had more screen time in the first 2 episodes of that than he did in the entire season of Mandalorian.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be my performance just because, like, we're probably not getting it again, in my opinion. I think he's gone for good. I think he's roasty toasty, but that's just me.
Coming back,
Darth Vader arc. I'm going with him as my character, or my performance, sorry. Character-wise, damn, this is tough, because I got, like, 3 that are up there, and I got, like, 2 that I really want to choose between, but... Man, I'm going Din Djarin. I just have to. I have to. I can't not. Bo-Katan had a great season, and I think we gave her plenty of love this season. I don't feel bad about shortchanging her this episode. Right. However, seeing her story wrap this episode was quite
well, and that's why we typically also do a season-long favorites, and I would argue that Bo gets both character and performance. I think Katie Sackhoff as Bo gets performance for the season, and she gets the character of the season.
Yeah, man. I mean,
R5. No, I'm
just totally. She just, man.
It's Bo-Katan. Yeah.
She just had an arc that was just so easy to fall in love with the character. They just made it really easy on you as a viewer to be like, man, I just want the best for this character. And like,
absolutely.
Are we doing scene or?
Yeah, that's the next stop on this. My favorite scene on a personal note has to be the adoption, the official adoption of Din, of Din Grogu. Yeah, there you go. Didn't misspeak technically.
Yeah.
But I just loved, like I said, I've mentioned Emily Swallow and Pedro Pascal's performance in that scene a couple of times now. It's extremely fucking good. The connection Grogu makes with the Mythosaur at the end of this scene seems like a pretty big deal. Like it'll eventually come back around.
Man, kind of another thing. They really teased that Mythosaur early on, huh?
Oh, and I think we interpret it as a tease.
Well, and that big monster in episode 7 being like the tease again, and then yeah. I mean,
I see it as a tease for sure, but I do think it served a purpose. It's not like it was completely devoid of, like, it helped propel Bo's arc. Like, that's what made her go, oh shit, maybe I need to rethink some things.
How the fuck don't they go down there, though? Like,
Yeah, it's
hey,
interesting
I
that
saw
Bo's
a
never
mythosaur. That's why the armor is like, you are the one who can unite us. You saw the mythosaur. Yes. They don't go for proof. Like, they don't just go down there in their
Maybe
jetpacks.
he ain't nothing to be fucked with, Joe.
I guess
You ever
I
think about
understand.
that? Maybe
Tell us
he's
that.
about that action, boss.
We have to assume all of this. Why aren't we like? Why don't we hear from them as like, hey, yeah, that's a mythosaur down there. Maybe we
he
don't go
doesn't
down
want
there.
to get rode. Maybe he doesn't
I
want to
know.
be ridden.
No, I know.
He
He's having
doesn't want
he's
to
having
be
a slumber
upset,
down
huh?
there.
You ever think about
he's
that?
chilling. No,
Trying
he's
to ride
chilling.
it.
In my headcanon, it's the mythosaur's like piss and shit that gives the water the ability for it to like forge Beskar.
Interesting.
It's just that he's chilling in there and he's pissing,
We-
and like that's the
Mythosaur.
yeah, that's the secret sauce in all their armor. It's his piss and shit. So like, I'd rather
You're
him
getting
just
the
stay
living
down there
waters
unbothered.
animal style. Is that what I'm hearing right now?
Exactly.
Where we are
It's
getting the
exactly
animal.
what I'm
We are
talking
But
getting.
alas, my favorite scene was the adoption of Din Grogu. I thought that shit was adorable. So
Nah, fuck that. We ain't said nothing. Fuck Joe. It's fuck Joe till I die.
give me one of your guys' favorite scenes.
I'm going with the air battle.
Fuck!
And I guess Gideon's fight as well. It all happens at the same time. But I mean,
now it's really fuck Joe. Now it's really fuck Joe.
Hey, no, we can come together on this. It was a
No,
scene that
I will never join you.
now you're switching. This was what you're going with there. Now you're going
If you are not with me, you are against me.
I was kind of against the scene at first because I'm like, man, I wanted this massive air, fight scene above the atmosphere with all the ships. But then what we got was way more badass. Like the shot of the armor and Bo coming in and just, I mean,
nah, dude, that was fucking awesome. That really was something sick. And I'll be honest, I thought we had seen some cool shit with the like jetpack and like the midair like fighting and stuff last episode, but man, they really went up to this one. They really did
unique. That. Yeah, it wasn't. They weren't refreshing and recycling things. It was all new and fresh. And
that was something, man. I really enjoyed that. You are right. I did enjoy that scene a lot, and I would say that's my favorite. But I think like in hindsight, like I don't know. Do I wait for him to come back, or do we just keep on rolling this bitch? Colton's not anywhere, actually. I'm sorry. I'm not exposing anything. He's just chilling.
I mean, but that's the thing is, like, how much of the air battle is also the Gideon fight? Because they do happen at the same time.
I just love... but if we can take a moment... if we can take a moment to talk about it, because transitioning shots is kind of part of that, but, like, man, dude, the fucking, like... the stakes that fight feels like it's taking on, because you know that, like, the time is of the essence, because, like, you feel like Din's kind of getting worked for a minute there, and then, like, Din separates from Bo, and then you feel like Bo's kind of getting worked for a minute there.
Yeah.
And then, like, Axe Wolf is literally just
also, an Imperial cruiser.
Fucking mega ship into the fucking...
coming in,
he is dive-bombing an entire Imperial fucking fighter ship into the same area where they are all fighting at the same damn time.
You have like the balance of, oh, that was fucking sick when Bo, is holding the saber, the armor is slicing, and you have these kills, and you're like, okay, that was sick. But then also you're reminded, you're like, oh, wait a minute. They need to go.
Yeah,
like
dude,
they need to
the chaos of that scene is just unparalleled, because all in the matter of 5 minutes, you have all of the Mandalorians fighting all of the Imperial commandos, and that shit looks sick as fuck, and you're like, whoa! And then you're like, Axe Wolf is like, I am piloting the Imperial command ship into the fucking heart of the planet. Get the fuck out of the way. Meanwhile, Bo-Katan is getting, first of all, Din's getting worked by Moff Gideon, and then he separates, and Bo-Katan starts getting worked by Moff Gideon. And then they come together, and all the while, my fucking Axe Wolf is abandoning ship as an Imperial fucking starship. It's just
badass, dude.
Dive bombing into the planet.
That's a pretty epic sequence.
I was thinking,
I mean, the whole time you're just like, you gotta get the fuck out of there. Like, at some point, you gotta just get the fuck out of there. And they're just like, pew, 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 just fighting the fuck out of Moff Gideon. And it's like, bro,
then
it ain't worth it. It ain't.
Immolates. He just holds his arms out and is like, whoa.
Yeah. And man, that scene was awesome, because, like, no, Joe, that's really what I was getting. I know I've been a little all over the place, but the stakes of that whole scene it's like, it's just building, it's like, he's gonna crash soon, right? Like, they're still fighting and they're still down in the depths of that shit.
Yo,
Are
the
they
shot
gonna
of
get?
it, like entering as the
Yeah,
other
I mean,
commandos were
he
flying
really
out.
did drive that shit right down Main Street. I mean, he hit it on the nose. He did not miss. That was
No, that man knew what he was doing.
he
But
piloted that shit right down the middle. I tell you what, he did not miss. He did not miss.
does that give us both of your guys' scenes then?
No.
Because I went with it, he's switching his scene because
it's fuck Joe forever.
So he's
Joe.
got to pick something else.
It's Jover.
It's Jover.
But what else do you go with then? We have the adoption and basically the air battle and Gideon.
Well, it feels pretty obvious. I'm just going with the last, like, I know this isn't technically one scene, kind of unfair, but if Joe gets to have the whole air battle plus the Moff Gideon fights /
I mean, it was going back and forth, and there were transition shots.
I'm not complaining. I'm going with like the like Navarro like close because it just felt like such a like healthy wrap to it all. Like it just felt right that the story closes with like the most easy, I hate to say easy, but like the dynamic between those two characters, that is where the stakes feel like all-time low for me, at least this season. Like the like whenever those two are interacting together, you just feel like that is the most safe and comfortable that Din feels in the show is when he is on Navarro with Grief Karga and like that whole close and then just having this quiet place to just lay his head.
I loved it.
And I mean, Grogu's gonna have all the abundance to fuck around with and just be a
play
fucking
in the sun.
kid.
You know, there's that line from episode 5 whenever he's like, maybe we return to Navarro and give our children a chance to play in the sun. And like, that's what he ends up doing. You know, he ends up going back to Navarro and letting his kids play by the river.
I can't shake that. Like, as far as evoking emotion, I don't know if there are very few moments in probably television / movie viewing period, but especially Star Wars that have quite just brought me like to such a like joyful moment. Like that just was like as happy of a moment. And again, it's not like, oh, that just made me so happy. It's like I'm only happy because I know that like it's almost like I keep paralleling Marvel and Star Wars, and I feel like people who listen probably hate me for it. But like, it's almost like now again, this sucks because like it's a sad moment. Tony Stark dying at the end of Endgame. Spoiler alert! If you haven't watched that already, get the fuck out of your house.
You know that happened. Yeah.
But anyway, and it's like Pepper Potts like, it's like you can rest now, or whatever she said specifically. It's almost like that type of moment where it's like he has like peace of mind for once. Like you look at what he was attempting to accomplish by the beginning of the season, and then how quickly it happened, and then how quickly everything spiraled out of control from that point. It's just like, man, like the man deserved a moment to just sit down, have a nice cocktail, just get a
nice little flag and a spatchka.
How do we not see that bottle, that grief card? You know, I really thought that we were gonna crack it at the end. You know, and he was gonna like have it like, I don't know, like a little whiskey glass or something. You know, I don't know, something like it's just those little things that I think could have strengthened. You know, like everything that happened this season was cool. Like the events that happened were great. The moments that we got were great.
If we could have been executed,
had more time just to sit with the characters, have, you know, I don't know, one-on-ones.
But something that like isn't lost in that too is like, you know, like everything comes together. Like not only do we get to see like Navarro have some problems solved, and like just before that you have the Forge being reignited and Bo-Katan having that like self-gratification of like, wow, like everything that I didn't have and I had lost at the beginning of this season of television is now officially mine, and more in a sense of like, I mean, that's just she did that, she earned that. Bo-Katan, Din Djarin, Grogu, Grief Karga, all these characters got exactly what they deserve, And it's just like, how could you ever not just have like the utmost satisfaction and happiness about that? You know?
No Darksaber this time. No Darksaber needed. Taking back Mandalore is what did it. You know, how do you not follow Bo after that? And yeah, I don't know.
Din Bo getting
freaky. Din is officially okay. That's why I think it's important that Din is officially Grogu's father now, is so that if Bo gets married to Din, then it is actually mom. You know, like it's. I think like. Is it inevitable that they actually get married, or are you still hoping that, you know, on the Armorer and Bo train?
No. I think that the Armorer and that's the thing. I've kind of reached a place where I think it's all platonic. I don't think any of it's going to happen. But I'm still holding out hope that Din Bo can work out, because that's my premier. Like their connection is really, really strong. I like the chemistry Katie Sackhoff and Pedro Pascal have is kind of impeccable. Like they're really, really good together, you know, and I just kind of hope that maybe we can come back around to it. But given the end of the season, it doesn't feel like we're going to go any sort of romantic route. And that's okay with me. You know, I was never banking on it. It was just kind of like a hope. I was never like expecting it or anything. I just thought it would have been cool. You know, there are a lot of things that people that worked on the show said that like implied a lot more than what kind of happened. You know, Brendan Wayne, one of the stunt doubles for Din Djarin, said, you know, the finale is kind of heartbreaking, which it's like the opposite of that. Pedro Pascal at the premiere of The Mandalorian said, like, wait until you see what she does to me. Talking about Katie Sackhoff, what did she do to him? I don't know, fucking nothing. You know, it was there was a lot said by people behind the scenes that I just don't think came to fruition, which I think is part that lends itself to the expectation management. It's like when you're hearing stuff from people who worked on the show, you usually feel like that's pretty reliable.
Wait till you see what we've kept secret, that you won't believe that we were able to keep secret this whole time.
I don't fucking know, man. And that's okay. Like, and that's the thing, is that like they got to do things to hype up their season. I get that. You know, they got to say things that make you go, oh shit, I can't fucking wait. I have to watch. But that's the thing. I think that at some point they got to know their audience and kind of be like, they're gonna watch. You know, like it's not like we're out here like, I don't know, I'm kind of tired of The Mandalorian. Maybe I don't tune into the season 3. No, everyone who watched seasons 1 and 2 was gonna watch season 3. It's just it was inevitable. But yeah, man, I don't know. I really appreciated this finale. I really appreciated. In retrospect, I really appreciate the season. Like I'm left in a place that's just overwhelmingly satisfied. But do we have any last favorites to give? Is line still left? I know me and you went with for Mandalore, Joe, but Kyler, you got a different line there?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
no.
It kind of just was the line.
No. I'm gonna. I don't know. It's really hard. Like, I mean, if I'm not taking the scene with the adoption, I'll take the lines of the adoption, because like that just built to such like a satisfactory moment. Like the lines of all of that. Like I don't remember the exact total verbiage, but like hearing Din Grogu for the first time was just like a, oh man, just right.
Like she says, make sure it is written in song that Din Djarin is accepting this foundling as his son. He is now Din Grogu.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man. And like that's another thing about like Emily Swallow's Armorer voice, is that there's something like kind of like
he lets her words breathe so well. I feel like she gives
good.
them
weight.
She gives them weight in a way that very few like faceless actors like could do. It feels
like when she says
extremely impressive.
He is now Din Grogu. It's kind of like,
fuck, well, that's what it is. You can't
dispute
that. I mean, you can't argue with that one.
Yeah, I can't argue with you, Emily Swallow. You're awesome. No, I love her. She's fantastic as the Armorer, and like that's why I'm like holding out hope that the Armorer doesn't have anything ulterior motive wise going, because
I hope not. It's a lot more beautiful, if not, and a lot
Dude,
more.
yeah, like if not, this season wraps up in a way that's just like,
and that
I don't know how much more I
can
can
I give an honorable mention though?
Fuck yeah.
Because we didn't even talk about it, but I want to give an honorable mention scene moment, or maybe it's shot or something. I think it's scene. It's scene. Honorable mention to scene for like the part where I'm gonna call. I don't know what you call them. Like the people who had stayed on Mandalorian for
I
the
call them
duration.
surface survivors.
Survivors. Okay. When they showed like Bo-Katan and everyone like where they like kind of take refuge and all of that, it just goes to show, like, Bo-Katan even had what felt like an arc within this episode that was just fantastic. And the whole season alone, but, like, that moment where she's, like, seeing it and is like, wow, like...
It's kind of like a Rey, like, I didn't know there was this much green in the whole galaxy, sort of,
like,
type thing. Like,
yeah,
I didn't know this was
I mean, like, to know that, like, it felt like confirmation to her that her home planet really, like, hadn't been lost in the way that she had thought.
Right.
And that just hits so close to home. Like, I just love that.
It also furthered this kind of theme that persists throughout all of Star Wars that I think Return of the Jedi is really, really, shit, you can find it fucking everywhere. What I loved about this finale was that it kind of blended two of my favorite Star Wars movies in terms of vibes, not really storytelling, but like The Last Jedi and Return of the Jedi. Their baby vibe wise is this episode of television for my money. The idea that nature versus the technological supremacy of the Empire. You know, they've been surviving because they've planted the Aboriginal plants to the region. They're doing all this to stay alive, and the Empire is grinding away their resources and destroying the planet actively, and like and they ultimately prevail. And the way the Ewoks help take down the Empire, and the way the Fathiers escape and help take down all the shitty motherfuckers on Canto Bight, you know, like that's cool. You know, I love stuff like that. And I think that this episode dug into that, which is not something Mandalorian does very often. You know, it's usually, oh, big animal, dangerous, let's kill it.
Yeah, it's a new age for man. They're not just all about their weapons, and it seems that they're like now focused on their values and like their planet and like really like just being together, you know, and not fighting. Like that's just kind of their main focus is let's not fight and act like we are strong as hell. Like that's like a line that Bo-Katan says that like we've always been strong enough. You know, like that we've never been weak. The only struggle that we do have is when we fight each other, and it's like it is true. Like if all of Mandalore did unite together, and like that's why the Shadow Council was like, oh yeah, fuck no, we need to do something now. Like don't let these people get together. Like we can't, because I mean look what Din can do on his own. Look what Paz can do on his own. You know, look what Bo. But now they're all together.
Yeah, Mandalorians are stronger together, man. And it's like in retrospect, dude, I have a tough time looking at the season in a negative light. And it'll be fun to rate it. But let's start with the episode, the finale itself, enjoyment and critical rating. Enjoyment wise for this finale, I'm sitting pretty fucking high.
It's not quite a 10. I don't think. You know, last episode was a 10, and I think this is like 9.59. You know, like it was pretty peak. You know, we got some pretty amazing things, but we were left a little disappointed at first, and that does
matter. That does matter. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think a 9.5 is about where I come down. Kyler, what about you, enjoyment wise? How are you feeling about that?
You know, I have talked all season about like trying to think about like where we get to at the end of the season. And I would be remiss if I didn't take this moment to make this the highest scored enjoyment wise I've had all season. I just, you know, I'm maybe this just reflects on my inner like hardwiring as a human being, but I am just entirely too positive and happy of a person to not just eat the fucking shit out of this up, just the happiness on full 10, like, you know, the reward of all the like stakes and like, you know, stuff from the season. I'm saying, what have I given out? What's like my highest score so far? Do you have it individualized or average?
No, we use it as a
But fuck it,
collective.
9.75. Don't give a shit. 9.75.
Okay.
That feels true to myself.
All right. You know, I want to inform you about a little process that you haven't been a part of yet, Kyler. If you would like to, there's a tradition from Game of Thrones in a city called Karth, the greatest city that ever was or ever will be, that someone gets to make an absolute decision if they invoke Sumai. You have the power in this moment to negate everything we say about this episode and invoke Sumai on the enjoyment rating and make it a 10 if you wanted to.
This is possible. You do have to invoke Sumai, though, which you do have to slice your hand.
You have to
and
cut
make
your
a
hand
blood
with a
pact. So you do. I mean, you do have to do that. So I mean, there is that little caveat. But
that's not a real thing. Not here, but yeah, figuratively speaking, you would have to cut your hand with a knife.
Hold up, I have a razor knife around here.
Okay, no. If you just want to do it, you
actually do it.
Just do it.
No.
Because that's the thing. I won't actually be that mad. This is
Colton
the rating.
Said a 9.5, and I said a 9.75, and Joe's gonna come in with some funky ass 9 or like 8.75 bullshit.
I said 9.5.
Oh, okay.
My rating, yeah. That's why,
So,
I don't know, if you want to invoke Sumai, it's not that much of a jump. It's only, if you're going to do it, it should be a 10. If you're going to invoke Sumai.
Yeah, if you're going to invoke Sumai, you ought to invoke Sumai for a 10. I'm only saying you should because I'm going to invoke Sumai for a rating for the season as a whole.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, this was my favorite episode of the season, enjoyment-wise, so fuck it, Sumai.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Suck my balls, Joe.
Hey. That's the one area that I can actually say could be a 10. It wasn't a 10 for me, but it is.
No, I get that.
This is the area that they did do well on.
No, yeah, I'm with you though. I think that like on my first watch, I wasn't at a 10. On my third watch, I am at a 10. Like I fucking loved this episode.
Well, and I love that like they didn't. I can't shake that like feeling of like the total like. It's rare in television, especially, to close like an arc. Like this felt like the end. Like Colton, we talked about this a little about how this feels like it could very well and probably should be the end of Mandalorian as a whole. Like if this was it, like it's rare that you end something this cleanly, like this wholesome and clean and just like, you know, it's rare that happens.
Yeah,
and
well, especially in Star Wars. As far as a season of television or a movie's happy ending, I mean, you got Return of the Jedi, and you've got The Phantom Menace, and you've got The Rise of Skywalker. I don't think we've had a happy ending for a season of television yet, though. Kenobi's relatively happy. The Book of Boba Fett's relatively happy. But you know, you've taken your losses. You've struggled along the way. Mandalorian season 2, relatively happy, but you're sending Grogu off. The Bad Batch has absolutely not had a happy ending.
Andor.
Relatively happy, but
however you want to take that one, but yeah, no, you're right.
This one is all happy. Like I leave this season like there is not a single thing I'm like, man, I'm sad that happened. No, I fucking love it. Like, rest in peace, Paz Vizsla and everything, but I didn't give a fuck about that guy. You know, like, I think he was dope, but like, he didn't I'm not like, oh no! You know, like, if there was anyone you were gonna fucking kill, it better be Paz Vizsla.
Yeah. I guess the only thing I'm very happy at the end, obviously. I get to see Din sit down and Grogu force, just making a frog. He probably ate that frog, later on. That
definitely
probably, or he's just playing. He's playing with his food. Like I am very happy. The only thing I'm not happy about, I guess, is like how Gideon was was treated. But like as far as like every character that I actually care about, it's like
worked out really well for them.
Worked out very well. And that's why I'm scared, is that this isn't the end. And it's very, very good right now.
No, yeah. What's really, really a shame is that like
it doesn't stay this good.
No, I'm willing to sacrifice Pedro Pascal's Din Djarin being a part of that Heir to the Empire movie if it means this is the end. You know, that's how I love Pedro Pascal and I love this character. That's how satisfied I am with this ending. Like if they decided never fucking mind, that's it for that guy. I would love that. I've gotten to
too big.
No, yeah, that's the thing. I know they won't. Grogu's too massive. And
he's going to be crucial to the story for until he dies.
A long time.
Until he dies.
Well, and that's the other thing though, is that if they just didn't touch Grogu until the new Jedi Order movie, I'd be okay with that too. You know, like that's the other thing, is that like he lives for such a long fucking time that like you can pick that story up. But nevertheless, critically, let's talk about this finale. How are we feeling on a scale of 1 to 10?
Direction, great.
Really good.
Visually, was awesome.
Really good performances. Really good score. John Favreau needs to let go of the reins a little bit for me in the writer's room.
It's just the writing, and I don't know how much that affects the rating.
Kyler, me and Joe were talking about this off mic. There are 3 episodes this season that John Favreau had a co-writer credited on, and they were episode 3 and 7 were 2 of them, which are pretty unanimously considered the best episodes of the season.
Yeah, and it seems, I don't just want to make any assumptions and just think that I know what's happening in Disney and all the decisions they made, you know. But it doesn't really seem that this was Mandalorian season 3. I think they had the idea of going with Bo as the main character, and I think like that was the idea. But like I think there's just some real world stuff that conflicted with the show. Whether, you know, Pedro Pascal couldn't be on set and they just couldn't get him, you know, they just had him as a voice actor, and I don't know, we couldn't get that helmet moment because he was filming Last of Us and he's one of the busiest actors in Hollywood right now. I don't know. That could be a reason. I'm not sure. Also, Cara Dune kind of fucking up a lot of things with Rangers of the New, I don't know, like that could have changed things. It seems that we got a few episodes that were clearly over there.
We'll also say that'll affect the season's rating a little bit more than it will this finale specifically.
Yeah. So there's a lot that we were hoping for this finale, and I guess as the episode itself, it's tough because I like my big complaint is Gideon's, like the writing of Gideon, and it is kind of a season complaint, but like the way he went out, and I don't know, I don't really think it was even handled well in the episode, completely even. Like his clones just dying, and we're not knowing that they were really dying, and then him having to tell us, and then whenever he's dead, I don't know. I just don't think it was handled completely correctly even in this episode. So like that's my gripe in episode. And like that we didn't get Pedro's face, which I guess is more of a season thing, you know, but it would have happened here. You know, I don't know. So like I don't know if it does affect this episode's rating.
Yeah, no, I would base that more on a preference than a critical thing. Like I would make that an enjoyment, more effective on enjoyment than critical. But
I guess
regardless,
Gideon is the true critical thing that I think was handled poorly.
And how much does that affect this episode for you?
Yeah, not totally a whole lot. Like I think it's still like last week was a 9 critically made. And I don't think it's too far off. Like it's not like it was like shittily made.
No.
Like as I said, the direction, the visuals, the fights, like the choreography, all that stuff was good. It was just the writing that kind of hindered it. So I think it's like it just didn't land as a finale as I thought the finale would. But with Bo's story and all of the good stuff, it did. Now, like on retrospect, so I think it's still up there, like 8.5, even.
Interesting.
Which,
That's nicer than I thought you were going to be. Because I, my gut immediately after this episode was around an 8, and I don't think I was giving it enough credit for score and for performance and for visuals or anything. And I think I would end up bumping it to about an 8.5. What about you, Kyler? How you feeling about the finale?
I was locked into an 8.5 before we started talking, so that was really fun to work there because I was at an 8.5.
That sounds good then. I think we can go ahead and settle on that. And what does that make the episode, the finale?
It is decided.
9 flat.
9 flat.
9 flat, which is in second place.
Yeah, that enjoyment rating helps a lot.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, then how about
this is the interesting rating here? I think, where you might have to invoke Sumai.
I almost certainly will.
But where are we starting? I guess
enjoyment, always enjoyment.
Yeah, okay.
Because I had a great time this season. Week to week, I did have a lot of fun. I did have, coming off of episode 7, I realized that I hadn't been as excited about this show week to week as I had previous. Which I was already kind of aware of, but then feeling the excitement between episode 7 and the finale kind of made me realize just how different it felt. But in retrospect, like looking back on the story we got and evaluating it and how much I enjoy what we received, I'm still pretty high on it. I had a lot of fun week to week. And maybe it didn't keep me as excited as previous seasons did. But I was never like, God, that one was fucking boring, huh? The
season, it works far better watching it all at once to binge the season. It makes it somewhat now that we know it's Bo's story, now that we know where it goes, and we're not getting Thrawn and a massive clone Jedi army and all these crazy things. To watch this season back, it's gonna yes, I know that I will enjoy it far more on rewatch. They're releasing it week by week, though, and I don't it's not because it makes the show better, that they're releasing it week by week. It actively hurts the show.
The Disney Plus
to release this week by week.
We just talked about this in my marketing class. They just want to keep people subscribed to that shit.
Exactly. If they released it all at once, people would subscribe, watch it all, subscribe. Next month they're not paying. This makes you, if you want to keep up with it, 8 weeks you have to be subscribed for. That's 2 months at least instead of 1. So that's double the money that they're expecting to get out of the show. So out of business decisions, it makes sense. But here, the show does not make sense to release weekly. We're watching Game of Thrones, rewatching that, and that show can be released weekly.
Right.
And every episode is like a movie, and it's oh my god, everything is firing. Here, it took until episode 3 to be whoa, that was maybe not what I was expecting, but really well made and completely stands on his own, on its own. Episode 2 was good, but not quite fully there. And then episode 7, we were whoa, okay, now this is now they're doing good. And it's
what does that ultimately? How does that ultimately affect your enjoyment? You think? What do you end up coming down at?
I think I'm still 8's the floor.
Yeah.
Floor. And I think I'm 8.25 or 8.5. I think the ending did help it. It did help it a lot, and you have to look at it as a whole. We're rating the whole season, but the week by week thing does matter. I think it is important, but not everything. for the show. So I think I'm around like 8.25 is probably where I'm at.
Okay. I like that. Kyler, what about you? Enjoyment-wise, how you feeling about the season?
I think I'm locked in about a 9 as far as enjoyment goes for the series. I just think, like, you know, I look back at and I try to look at this as, like, sans recency bias as I possibly can. And, like, I really don't know how much I wavered from a 9 even when things were kind of rough. Like, maybe after the super long episode, was that episode 3 with a lot of the New Republic stuff, Dr. Pershing, all that?
Lowest, yeah.
That might have been as low as I dipped, but since then they've really done a good job of building it up to this finale, and like, I can't discredit the finale. They drove it home. They did it for me. Like, I'm not like, I can't look at the whole season and think like, man, like it didn't. And you know, it cracks me up that people are gonna point to that episode number 3, or you know, the episode with what is that? Episode 6? Is that the one with Jack Black, Lizzo?
6.
They're gonna point to those 2 episodes and be like, what in the finale? What happened in the finale that those 2 episodes helped us get to this point? You know, and fine, say what you will. What happened with Frog Lady that really made you feel like we worked to something that happened in the finale? What about Frog Lady
of Din and Bo? We got to see them interact and talk with each other and just see what they would do in a given situation, and it strengthens their character like that. That episode,
I get that. I'm saying that's what I feel like people are going to do to dock like an enjoyment scale or something of this whole season, is point to those 2 episodes like, well, those didn't help with anything. If you threw those episodes away, you don't have anything missing from the finale and what happens. And it's like, okay. That's fine. You can say that whatever you'd like, but
that's where my gripe actually comes in, is that I think we need more of that. Yeah, we got enough moments. We got enough moments, like, and the moments were good. But it's
you know, I 100% agree with your perspective about the week to week thing, and I think that's absolutely fair. I've just also rewatched the entire thing as a binge mode within the last week, which also helps me look at it from both perspectives a little bit. And I end up coming down towards a 9, but I'm more than willing to compromise and meet you in the middle somewhere at around an 8.5 or 8.75 if you're down to do that.
I think 8.75 is fair, because I mean, I'm looking week by week. I mean, 10, 9.25, 9, 10, 10. We have an 8.75, basically a 9, and then the lowest rating is episode 3 at a 7.75.
That's a pretty damn good season.
So even week by week, we were still enjoying it. It's just like I think it's the interesting conversation to be had here for the season is
critically.
That's the interesting conversation. I think it's still Star Wars. We were going to love it. We're going to be excited about it. It wasn't absolutely everything. It's not a 10 immediately, you know.
No,
still doing what, like 8.75? That's
a good season. That's a fun season.
I think I'm good to go up there if you're cool with 8.75.
I'm game. I'm game.
Okay. Cool.
But critically, let's talk about that. You know, I'm curious to hear where you end up coming down. Because we talked off mic earlier, and I'm curious if your perspective has changed at all. You said your ceiling was 7.
I did say this. I did say absolutely. I was very heated in the moment as well.
We were going back and forth
during that time. Yeah,
we were debating.
Gideon is just. They needed to have him early in the season. And like you're right. Like, and they could have nothing else about the season at all. Just introduce him earlier. Let him be known as the villain, and it makes his death and everything so much better. It just makes it better. And I mean, I usually hate whenever I hear a Star Wars fan be like, oh, wow, this big thing in Star Wars was undone by a few button presses, or like this such a simple action. You know, I hate whenever like that happens. It's just written for the story. But like the fact that Gideon's like his clones were destroyed like that. I'm not saying like I hate the fact that they were destroyed. I think it needs to happen because if it doesn't, then Snoke should have happened way earlier, and Force sensitive clones should be everywhere. If like this progressed and like I don't know, like so I think like it being destroyed is good, but like I had no idea that that's what was happening at all while it was happening, and I'm like are they waking up? Or like what's going on? Like I was confused, and it took Gideon having to say. They didn't even get to take their first breath. I'm like, wait, oh, they're dead, and oh, wait, now I got to focus back on the fight that's happening right here and the explosions and like I don't know. So it's like,
no, I'm with you. You know, I think that like we said about the finale, I think it was well performed. I think the score again was pretty outstanding. I think for the most part, it was pretty good looking. I had a few gripes throughout the season about how it felt a little more phoned in than it had in previous seasons. You know, that shot at the end of episode 6 where Bo has the darksaber. I'll never get over the fact that that's one of the most bland, boring shots I've ever seen in my fucking life.
Yeah, is rough.
Like there's just a lot of stuff where it's like, oh, that could have looked better. And I think episode 1, and that's the thing, is that they all had good looking moments, but like beginning to end good looking episodes. We're looking at episode 2, episode 3, episode 7 and 8. Half the season was beginning to end good looking, you know?
Yeah.
And that's not a strength, you know. That's not good exactly. That's
and the
50%.
Pedro voice acting, suit acting needs to be addressed here too. I think
needs to be refined.
It wasn't. I don't know. I really hope we get the mask off next season. I really hope that comes into play. And I don't know. Put him just there. Like it's clear that it's just not him most of the time. Like not there. I don't. If he's there and he knows the line that he has to say and that he can. I don't know. I think it's just. I don't know. I don't know what needs to be done.
There's a disconnect for you. I get that.
There's something there, and it's clear that like his actions are just they're not matching up.
I see you.
But the action, like the stunts, the kicks,
gorgeous.
the everything, that's
the
not
costume
a problem
design
whatsoever.
this season was fucking stellar. Also, we haven't given that enough love. All the different Mandalorian styles and
the flags, like that Ragnar, like whenever that was almost my favorite shot was in the living water, seeing all the banners up and the room not so dull. It was like bright and kind of lively. Everyone was standing around.
No, it was gorgeous. It was gorgeous.
So yeah, there definitely are like gorgeous moments, and visually it was done well. It's
where do you think you end up coming down at then?
I think I said 7 was the ceiling, and I mean, I think I'm like 7.5, 7.25, 7.5. I really can't get over how they handled Gideon. That was just a little too weird. But Bo's arc, very done well, and I think written well. Could have used a little more, I think, in her mind, and a little more just candid dialogue with someone else, you know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
letting her breathe a little bit.
But man, her arc was very strong. But Gideon's just wasn't quite there. And I mean, I guess if they have more plans with him, it should have been revealed here still. And if they're still holding on to more reveals, then I don't know. I don't know if they know how to handle the villain of the show well or not. Like I'd assume they'd want, you know, Gideon to be a villain for as long as possible because you have such a great actor and such a great, you know, the concept of it is sick, and a Maul DeLorean suit now. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my main gripe of the season, and the exposition-y feeling of it too is a.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah. So is it Sumai worthy? I don't know. Are you actually having to invoke Sumai?
No, I wouldn't have to. I don't think. I'm coming down around the same spot. Maybe I'd give it a little more credit simply because Bo's arc just carried so much more weight with me. Like I think that was done exquisitely well. Kyler, what about you? How are you coming down scale of 1 to 10 on this season critically?
I'd go I'm sitting like right around like 8.25, 8.5, something along those lines. Like, I don't know. It just feels like there's gonna be things that you see critically like already, or we'll see like in terms of the scope of the season in review, like things people are gonna, use to knock it down. I'm not like ignorant to those. It's just that those don't hold as much weight to me as a critic as it does to a critic.
Right.
I'm gonna always be more forgiving of those things than like
Right.
Joe Schmo who writes for whatever. And so whatever,
No,
that's
I'm with
fine. Doesn't change my personal opinions of anything. But
So you're feeling 82585. Joe's feeling 72575. How are we feeling about a 775 or 8? Kind of splitting that there.
I'm looking at the averages like of it all, of everything. If we average every episode out and just see what that comes out to be, it is an 8 critically, 809, 81 critically, and enjoyment was at like a 9.3, almost a 9.4.
Did a pretty good job there.
And if my main gripe is just Gideon and the villain, and I think all the good arcs were handled well. They could have used a little more moments, but handled well. So I think like 8. I'd be comfortable with an 8 flat. 7.75 is probably, or 7.5 is where I would land personally, but I see the 8.
That's my thing, because I was landing kind of perfectly in between you. Like, my gut was taking me 7.75, 8, and the fact that you guys said 8.25, 8.5, 7.25, 7.5 kind of just worked perfectly for me. Didn't have to invoke Sumai even a little bit. But yeah, I'm 100% down with an 8. And what's funny is, like, I tweeted yesterday like my immediate thoughts as soon as I finished the episode at like 3 a.m. And I said, I'm happy for everyone who enjoyed the season, but it just wasn't for me. And I've already kind of flipped on that perspective. I already enjoy the season a lot more than I did at 3 a.m. this morning. I will say, and we'll kind of save this for the episode with Claire coming up next week. We're going to do a ranking of every season of Mandalorian, season 1, 2, and 3, kind of discuss what we think falls where. But it'll be interesting to kind of reflect on that. I
don't think it's quite immediately as known. Immediately, my guns were like, "This is the worst season of Mandalorian." Like, no way, it's 1 or 2. But I don't know if it's that simple now.
I don't think so either. I think the conclusion of the season was that strong. And it'll be a fun conversation. But with that, I think we will conclude this season's coverage of The Mandalorian, dudes. So
3 times around the block.
3 times around the block, my guys. Let's see. Wow. This is going to be episode 371, and The Mandalorian Chapter 1. Our coverage of that.
Like what? Wasn't it like 49 or 60 something or something in that range?
It's a lot of episodes.
See. Chapter 1. Yeah, we are episode 371 to conclude season 3. Our Mandalorian rewatch chapter 1 episode clocked in at 41 minutes and was episode 43 of this podcast. 330 episodes ago, we started covering The Mandalorian, and here we are. So much later.
We've been working. We've been working.
But
and we'll be here for season 4 and season 5 and season 6.
However long they continue.
Who knows?
Until they stop selling action figures.
Yep. We're going full LeBron James, D Wade, and Chris Bosh on the Miami Heat.
Not 2, not 3, not 4.
Not 4. Yep. We're going all the way up. But with that, we'll conclude this. If you would, head to patreon.com/PennyBloomPod, where you'll find over 50 hours of exclusive content. For $3 a month, you can support this podcast financially, which is huge because it costs me money, and I don't make any off of it unless it's over there. Shout out to Kyler for joining me over there. Yeah.
Do that shit.
Do that shit. Head to Twitter, follow at PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram at PennyBloomPodcast. We are currently doing our top 100 Star Wars characters. Part 1 and 2, the first 50 released yesterday, and we're going to be releasing it by increments of 10 from here on out every Tuesday and Thursday. Tomorrow gives us the 40s, so 40 through 49. And then Tuesday after that, 30 through 39. Thursday after that, 20 through 29.
Hey,
So on and so forth.
real talk, shout out my boy Queel. Saw him pop out on the list today.
Yes, you
Good-
did, and that's
good
what that
shit.
was part of the point with the following on at Penny Bloom Pod. You'll be able to, even if you don't want to listen to the episode, you will be able to see our lists. I don't specify who has which character, but I am tweeting what characters come at each spot. You don't get any explanation.
But if
just
you
go
want to
right in.
know, just watch listen to the damn shit.
Just listen to the episode. I've only tweeted up to like 86. Bruh, you could listen to all 50
Yeah.
that are available. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Go ahead. Do both if you want. I don't give a fuck. If you would, leave a 5-star rate and review wherever you might be listening. We've got the comic book movie Journey Through Film going on right now. That's a very exciting project. We got Winter is Blooming, Game of Thrones rewatch podcast going right now. Also very exciting project. And with that, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
It's always a pleasure to have you. And thank you, KBZ, Kyler Barnett.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for another wonderful season of Star Wars coverage. It's my favorite thing to cover, and it will be the last time we cover it for a while as far as what's on TV, because next Wednesday, if you're like, I don't want Wednesday Star Wars to end, it doesn't have to if you come with us on the Penny Bloom Pod. The Ahsokast begins next Wednesday, where we will be reliving all of the major moments of Ahsoka Tano's journey as a character. And we start with the Clone Wars movie next week. And I'm very excited for you all to hear that. It was a good episode. It was a good recording. It was Joseph's first viewing of it, so we got a little bit of a fresh perspective there.
Yeah, I know. A while. Took me a while to get there, but I got there.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And yeah, so the Ahsokast, we're doing that all the way through Ahsoka when it comes out in August. So we'll have that all built out there for you. And yeah, remember, peace, love, and bloom. And for Mandalore!